Hi, my name is Brandon and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. And today I want to talk about death. And it might seem weird to see me here smiling as I introduce this topic, but death is an important concept. And I realized as I was starting out in recovery that a lot of the things that kept me stuck in life were related to my fear of death. And this fear of death was actually preventing me from living a better life and the kind of life that I wanted to. So I'm going to read a little bit from The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer, where he talks about this some, then talk about what role it plays in recovery and how important it's been in my own recovery from drug and alcohol addiction. So Singer says, "It is truly a great cosmic paradox that one of the best teachers in all life turns out to be death. No person or situation could ever teach you as much as death has to teach you. While someone could tell you that you are not your body, death shows you. While someone could remind you of the insignificance of the things that you cling to, death takes them all away in a second. While people can teach you that men and women of all races are equal and that there is no difference between the rich and the poor, death instantly makes us all the same. The question is, are you going to wait until the last moment to let death be your teacher? The mere possibility of death has the power to teach us at any moment. A wise person realizes that at any moment they may breathe out and the breath may not come back in. It could happen at any time, in any place, and your last breath is gone. You have to learn from this. A wise being completely and totally embraces the reality, the inevitability, and the unpredictability of death. Anytime you're having trouble with something, think of death." Now, hearing that paragraph, there's two different reactions that I can think of. In my active addiction, my reaction would have been to hear that and think, what a morbid way to approach life, to think about it framed by death. In my recovery, this is the logical thing to do, what he describes here, because death is actually what gives life meaning. You know, life as we live it has no meaning unless there's an end to it. And death is what gives it that meaning. And so it's been very important for me in recovery to accept the reality around death and to accept that, yes, it can come at any time. And that's why it's important for me to live a life in the moment that is the life that I want to be living, that is the life that I think I should be living. And I used to in my addiction say, years from now, I'll clean up my act and I will stop drinking so much and I'll start doing this and I'll start taking care of my money and I'll start meditating more and I'll start exercising more later. The realization that later is not guaranteed and that in fact, at some point later will not come again for me has given me the perspective I need to take action in my life to do the things that are important right now rather than saving them for later. And in truth, saving those things for later was a way of avoiding the inevitability of death for me. It was a way of saying, I've got more time. And it's unrealistic because we never know. What we do things every day. I mean, you can die getting out of bed in the morning. You can die driving your car. Anytime you get in the car, you are potentially risking death. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, but you should appreciate the impermanence of life. The fact that these vessels that we're in are very fragile and very susceptible to injury and to things that can cause us to end our lives. So it's extremely important to me to be realistic about this because it places more emphasis for me on the now, the present moment. What am I doing now? And the idea that I always go back to is I need to remember that if I do now what I think is appropriate, then I don't have a reason to fear death. If I do in this moment what I feel like is the right thing to do, then when death comes, I can smile and accept it and know that I died doing the right thing. And I couldn't say that in my active addiction. I was often doing the wrong thing in my active addiction, and I knew it. I knew I was not doing the right thing. And that's another place where my fear of death came in. I was worried that at a subconscious level, in some extent, I was worried that I was going to die doing the wrong thing. And I don't have that concern anymore. So reading a little bit more, Singer talks a little bit about how we can incorporate this into our lives. He says, it shouldn't take death to challenge you to live at your highest level. Why wait until everything is taken from you before you learn to dig down deep inside yourself to reach your highest potential? A wise person affirms, if with one breath all of this can change, then I want to live at the highest level while I am alive. I'm going to stop bothering the people I love. I'm going to live life from the deepest part of my being. This is the consciousness necessary for deep and meaningful relationships. Look how callous we get with our loved ones. We take it for granted that they're there and that they'll continue to be there for us. What if they died? What if you died? The idea of impermanence and the idea that people do not last. I have to remember every time my wife and son, for example, get in the car and drive away, that could be the last time I see them. There is a very, very real possibility that they never make it home, that something terrible happens while they are out there. And I have to infuse that appreciation of the impermanence of their lives in the way that I interact with them while they're here. So I have to let petty things slide. I have to let the little annoyances slide and really appreciate them in the moment, because the next moment's not guaranteed. These are the things that have become foundational parts of my life. I have to practice them. It's not like I've turned into a completely enlightened being overnight. And I still get annoyed and I still get bothered and I still have to talk to people about it and get out of my own head about it. But I have to remember these things, and I have to remind myself that, nothing in the future is guaranteed. We have to appreciate what we have, and that's where bringing gratitude into the picture is also very important. So the last paragraph I want to read today says, take a moment to look at the things you think you need. Look at how much time and energy you put into various activities. Imagine if you knew you were going to die within a week and a month. How would that change things? How would your priorities change? How would your thoughts change? Think honestly about what you would do with your last week. What a wonderful thought to contemplate. Then ponder this question. If that's really what you would do with your last week, what are you doing with the rest of your time? Wasting it? Throwing it away? Treating it like it's not something precious? What are you going to do with life? That's what death asks you. So if I think about, what would I do with my last week of life? I would probably ask for most of the week off of work. But I would spend it with family and friends. I would go to meetings with the fellowship, the community that I love in recovery. But I wouldn't change a lot about the way I'm living every day. You know, I'd still do my daily inventories. I'd still pray. I sure as hell wouldn't pick up the bottle, because that's never been a good life for me. That's never been a life that prepared me to leave life. That's never been a life where I appreciated the moments that I had and the people that populated those moments. The life I have in recovery allows me to do that. It allows me to look at death as a friend and as a partner in what's happening in my life. And I've never been able to do that before. And it's only by doing that that I'm able to honestly sit here and say, if I knew for a fact that a week from now I'd be dead, not a whole lot would change. I would ask for some time off work. I definitely do that. But I'd still probably do a little work because I care about the people I work with, and I'd want to help them wrap some things up. So think about that. And it's not something morbid to ponder. It's something good to ponder. Good comes from thinking about death, preparing for death, because it can come at any moment. Don't dwell on it, and don't wallow in it, and don't get to a point of self-pity regarding death. But using it as a way to examine the way we're living life, that is what makes death such a great teacher. And that's what gives us such valuable lessons that we can gain from it. That's it for today. I'll be back here tomorrow with more. Thanks.